Marvel. Dude, at this point, Marvel might be the most LARPed franchise of all time. It has the most posers because everybody has an opinion on it. If you're alive, Marvel has influenced your life in some way, shape, or form. Whether it's movies, the cartoons, the games, the comics, something. The MCU alone has been dominant for over a decade, and now it's kind of revving back up its engine. On top of that, just about every form of media you could consume growing up, Marvel was there. They made sure their name was everywhere. And because of that, everybody has a take. It doesn't matter if you love Marvel, hate Marvel, or you're somewhere in the middle, depending on the project, everyone has something to say. That's just what happens when something becomes this mainstream. It turns into a constant cycle of opinions, debates, and honestly, a lot of repeated takes. And that's really what this video is about, because when something gets this big, you start to notice patterns, the same opinions getting shown to you over and over and over again. And sometimes it's because people just haven't read enough. It's just genuinely what they think. And other times, well, it's just easier to repeat what everyone else is saying. But either way, it leads to one thing: a lot of noise. So what I want to do is cut through that a little bit. I've got some takes here, some hot, some not, some, I think they're kind of hot takes to the normie, but they aren't exactly that crazy if you're within this community. But you kind of have to wet the feet of the people who aren't all consumed by the topic of superheroes, and in this case, Marvel itself. Not everyone is going to know everything. Sometimes there's takes that are misunderstood, overhyped, or things that are just completely misrepresented when people talk about Marvel, and people just like to reiterate the next take that they heard. So how about I drop my hat in the ring and let's see what happens. So we're gonna start with the most obvious one, the most obvious character that everyone wants to talk about, and that is Spider-Man. Something that a lot of you are gonna start noticing compared to my DC videos, that for Marvel I have very general takes on specific characters that might be considered rambling to some, because I'm just gonna go spitfire on a bunch of these different takes. But with Spider-Man, I had to start here because he is the face of Marvel. The video would feel incomplete without talking about him. He's a part of that big three: Batman, Superman, and Spider-Man, the characters that are always at the top. But here's the weird thing about Spider-Man: he's at the highest peak possible as a character, while simultaneously being near the bottom in terms of how he's handled in the comics. And that's why I made that post a while ago. Should Spider-Man just go to DC if he could take his mythos with him? And the responses were kinda split. Some people said yes, some people said no. But the fact that it's even a conversation tells you everything about the current state of the character. Now, one of the biggest things I always see people say is that Spider-Man is the most done dirty character in Marvel, that he suffers more than anyone else, that Marvel treats him the absolute worst. And I'm gonna be honest, that's just not true. Spider-Man fans have this thing I like to call the Trauma Olympics. It's basically trauma power scaling, trying to prove or act that Peter Parker has it worse than everybody else. But if you actually look at Marvel as a whole, that argument falls apart pretty quickly. I don't know why they're so in a fuss to play the victim. I guess a bunch of bad storylines back to back would do that to somebody. But either way, you've got Wolverine dealing with centuries, literal centuries of trauma. The Punisher's entire existence is built on losing basically everyone, even himself in the process. And Daredevil's life is suffering back to back to back, the same way as Spider-Man is currently. But that's just scratching the surface, because with Daredevil, his dramatic stories are so good that fans don't want it to stop. With Spider-Man, at least the writing is bad enough that fans are kind of waking up and they realize maybe our favorite hero, the poster boy of the franchise, should get some wins. But even within Spider-Man's own publication history, if you want to look at it from a quality standpoint, it's not as bad as people make it to seem. Yeah, the main run can be inconsistent. Yeah, editorial mandates will get in the way. But at the same time, there's always something good if you look for it, the same way with Batman and Superman, that because they publish so many books for all of those characters, multiple books that are either maxi-series, mini-series, Elseworld books, Ultimate Spider-Man, the Absolute Universe, all these different things, that with these three characters, you have at least one good story. Nick Spencer's early half was really damn solid, at least to me. Dan Slott, while he's very inconsistent at being consistently good, there were some real highlights there, especially in the beginning. The Brand New Day era, in a vacuum, at least to me, had multiple writers putting out genuinely fun stories. Mark Waid would drop bangers here and there, Joe Kelly would do some stuff that are pretty cool, and right now, he's writing the main run, and honestly, I believe it's not as bad as people say. It is getting hit by crossover events that just doesn't need to happen, but in general, it's probably the most fun I've had with Peter in a while. But on top of that, you'll have people like JMD Mateus, a veteran of Spider-Man writing, just rise from the ashes and come in and drop a really great miniseries out of nowhere. Even Chip Zdarsky had a pretty solid Spider-Man run in the pages of Spectacular Spider-Man, and that's the advantage. Because he's popular, he always has content. If the main run is mid, you've got the side series. If that's not hitting, you've got a miniseries, a what if. There is no point where Spider-Man has nothing worth reading, or any of his side characters have nothing worthwhile either. The main issue of these series isn't that Spider-Man suffers, like a lot of people like to say, is that people are tired of seeing it done poorly. Because that Parker luck, that soap opera drama, that messy life, that is not a flaw that's happening within the current pages of ASM. That's the character, that's been baked into him since the 60s. Fans have seen it handled so badly so many times now that they don't even want it anymore, even though it's essential to who Peter Parker is. But at the same time, I will concede, growth does matter. You can't just keep breaking him down without building him back up. That's where the frustration comes in, but even with all of that, Spider-Man is not the benchmark for suffering in Marvel. People gotta stop using the term, oh, that guy got Spider-Man writers, oh, Absolute Batman has Spider-Man writers. No, Absolute Batman has Absolute Batman writers and artists. He is the guy a part of that. Scott Snyder put some respect on his name, calling him a Spider-Man writer because Batman is going through trauma. He is a veteran of Batman. He has put Batman through the ringer, and he knows how to make a compelling story. There's a lot of characters who suffered more, and with the trajectory of what Absolute Bruce is going through, he is going to fly straight past him despite only having a book for like 2 years. Honestly, Peter is not even in the top 10 within Marvel, and I think Spider-Man fans need to come to terms with that. Your favorite character, even when done dirty from a quality perspective as well, also isn't within that top 10. It just seems like it to you because he's so popular, and yes, Spider-Man should be top priority. He is the mascot of the Marvel brand, other than the X-Men. But no, Spider-Man always has material that's good. Television series as we've seen this year, Spider-Man Noir, movies, video games, all of the above. You guys are going to feast for the rest of your life. Stop it, it is not that serious. It's kind of like I'm consoling you. It's not that bad. ASM could be worse. Spider-Man could very much be a killer. I don't know where I'm going with this. Can you tell that this video is a bit more unscripted? I don't know. But anyways, this next one, this is personal, I will admit. I am not going to sugarcoat it in the slightest. And it is about Daredevil. When it comes to the Marvel Universe, Matt Murdock is always in that GOAT discussion. A lot of people like to say, and you'll hear it a lot, that Daredevil has no bad runs. He's the most consistent Marvel character. You can pick up any Daredevil run and it'll be amazing. And when I first heard that, I believed it. That clicked in my brain, so I did what I always do. I went back to the beginning, and let me tell you, I have never been more bored in my life. Like, the truth is, Daredevil wasn't always this elite, untouchable character. For a long time, he was just there. Frank Miller saved this broke boy's life. The book was incredibly inconsistent. You'll get a good issue here and there from a guest writer or artist, and then you go right back to the same slop. Miller didn't just elevate Daredevil as a character, he pulled him from the trenches. That's when the character finally found his identity. That tone, that grounded storytelling, the psychological depth, all of that comes from that era. Of course, we had the Jim Shooter Mackenzie era right before that had some decent things here and there and some highlights, but I don't think it really got good, and I don't think anyone would argue with me with this until Miller. Once you hit the 80s, it feels like smooth sailing. Until it doesn't, because Daredevil has a huge problem at the beginning of its renaissance, and that is interruptions. You'll be locked into a great run, fully invested, and then suddenly a new writer comes in with a new direction and everything now shifts. It breaks that momentum. You see it with the transition between runs. You see it inside runs sometimes. It creates this weird inconsistency that people just ignore when they talk about Daredevil being perfect. If you look at the Frank Miller stuff, it was interrupted by the Denny O'Neil run, and hey, whenever Denny O'Neil is on a book, I like to hear it out first. He did a very influential Batman run created like Ra's al Ghul in his tenure as the Batman editor from the late mid-80s to the 90s and the very beginning of the 2000s, produced some of my favorite Batman comics ever. His Question run was generational, and his Iron Man run, while ignored by many, is very foundational, setting up certain pieces from Rhodey becoming the new Iron Man to the Silver Centurion armor to dealing with things like mental health, alcoholism, and even racism within the same storyline. He has produced some bangers, but also he did produce his Spider-Man run, which I'm not too fond of, and when it comes to his Daredevil run that kind of interrupted Frank Miller's Marvel 80s magnum opus, other than I guess Wolverine, that really hit me in my soul. I felt like I was stopped dead in my tracks. And yeah, we had Ann Nocenti come off the heels of Miller's run, and that was really good, but you can only keep something good for so long. And then you hit the 90s. It's either amazing, carrying over the greatness from the 80s, or it's pure, edgy nonsense. There's no middle ground, and it's mostly very bad. Chichester's run, I'm pretty sure that's how you pronounce his name, was, dude, as soon as you see that armored Daredevil suit, that's why I don't understand people who like that suit, because it brings me back to very bad times. Like, Daredevil was, at least to me, unreadable. I did not like it. You got small bursts of quality, like JMD Mateus coming in for a short arc, something interesting here and there, but a lot of it is very rough. And then you get to people like Carl Kessel and Joe Kelly, trying to lighten things up from the overly edgy nonsense of the 90s, which helps, it's enjoyable, it's kind of like the Mark Waid to the Shadowland, but it wasn't even the ending point of Daredevil before the Marvel Knights relaunch. We got Scott Lobdell, and if you know, you know. The run was so forgettable, I genuinely couldn't tell you what happened in it, and actually, I'm gonna stop myself right there. I should never, ever let Scott Lobdell off the hook. Not like I hate the man, hate is a strong word, and I could never, but if you are a Red Hood fan, not me, I used to be, or if you're a, I don't know, a Teen Titans fan, you should have a bone to pick with this man. Eventually though, Marvel Knights comes in and resets things with Guardian Devil, which by the way, is overrated nonsense. Is it important? Yes. Is it amazing? No. But after that, that's when Daredevil becomes the go. I think Daredevil is the go of the 2000s and the 2010s. That stretch from Bendis, Brubaker, Waid, Soule is just incredible. That's what people talk about when they say consistent. Even the beginning of Zdarsky's run was also really good. I think the Shadowland Andy Diggle era is the one bad spot, other than, of course, the ending of Soule's run. Not to say everything is perfect, of course, but as a whole, it's pretty darn strong. Zdarsky, though, after you get past that first year into Volume 7, that's when things start to fall off. The Red Fist saga had ideas, it was creative, way more than a lot of other parts of Zdarsky's run that kind of copied things from previous runs but done a lot worse, but it didn't hit the way it should have. And yes, this is me basically dropping another bomb on your head. Zdarsky's run is overrated. It's not bad, but it's not top 5 of all time that I've been seeing a lot of people do. Yes, I will admit it has a lot of aura, a lot of big moments, a lot of panels that look amazing out of context that's perfect for edits and social media to drive engagement, but that doesn't automatically make it one of the greatest runs ever. It's very much built for Netflix Daredevil fans, because I will be the first to tell you that the version of Daredevil Zdarsky made is very different from the Daredevil I know. The Punisher he made is very different as well to the Punisher I know, but if you're a fan of those Netflix versions, it will fit you like a glove. For a lot of new fans, it's their first comic book Daredevil experience, and that is why they hold on to it so tightly. But the moment you move on to greater and better things, you'll start to realize that his run thrives on hype. It's kind of the opposite of Tom Taylor's Nightwing run. That one thrives on wholesome, character-driven moments that is meant to blow up on Tumblr out of context. I know, I'm throwing shots everywhere, but I hope you guys realize that Zdarsky's run, the back half, takes us into the 2020s. So there, maybe for like 3 years straight for the most part, other than the ending of Zdarsky's run, which I really like, it hasn't been very good. What I've noticed is that a lot of modern writers can give you a strong start, 6 issues, maybe a year, maybe a bit more, but after that is when things start to slip up. So hopefully Stephanie Williams does a good job. So yeah, Daredevil is amazing, but he's not perfect. He has had bad runs, back to back, he has had weak periods, even within good runs, and we need to stop pretending otherwise. My next take is gonna be on X-Men fans, and as much as I love X-Men, y'all might be the most annoying Marvel fans they are, and I don't mean this in a purely negative way because they're passionate and I know they care, and honestly, Marvel does need them. The X-Men are one of the most important parts of that entire universe. They've dominated comics, having the most sold comic of all time, X-Men #1, a single issue selling millions upon millions of copies. Then of course in animation, X-Men, of course 92, X-Men 97, Evolution, everything in between. Video games, X-Men Legends, all the Capcom games, Marvel vs. Capcom, they are an integral part of those franchises. So when they were excluded from Infinite, we all threw a fit, okay? These guys are part of competitive play. If you're a part of any sort of culture, you're probably going to love the X-Men some way, shape, or form. But the way some X-Men fans talk about other characters, it's crazy. There's this weird disconnect where they only care about mutants and everything else gets dismissed or misunderstood. Take for example, my GOAT Captain America, Steve Rogers himself. I've seen so many takes that completely miss the point of his character. Putting it bluntly, and for all the idiots in the back, and I know I was not speaking. What happened to me, bro? I was not speaking this way in my DC video, and I am 100% more passionate about DC. Something happened to me this day. I don't know. Maybe it's because I don't like overglazed or over misrepresented concepts and characters and just ideas that might have put me in this mood. But either way, Cap is not a government puppet. He doesn't blindly follow authority. He represents what America should thrive to be, not what it is. He's one of those characters that we've seen time and time again, even compared to other heroes within the same universe, who's the most willing to stand against the system when it's wrong. And people ignore that. Like, do you guys realize how ironic, but also how by design, which makes it so cool, how the character who's draped in a flag is the most antagonistic to the government they're representing? That is so sick. And then, to jump off a little bit, the whole Magneto was right thing. No, he's not. His motivations are completely understandable. Absolutely, I will not argue with you there. But his actions? No! Genocide is not the answer. Yes, that happened to his people, and yes, I am aware that certain people are pushing an agenda that is meant to eradicate mutant kind. But 3 wrongs do not make a right. A lot of these people are forgetting that you are human too. You are advocating for your own death, but you also have to realize that not everyone is bad. And I'm pretty sure all of us should know this by now, that overgeneralization is usually the cause of a lot of racism. Saying all humans are bad, even though the Marvel Universe is a little bit cooked in terms of global or just social perception of superheroes, they are not all bad. If that was the case, what is the point of all these superheroes helping them? That would be a very cynical way of looking at the world, that all of us need to die, including your loved ones and the people around you that you see every day. Even if somebody annoys you or somebody is like, somebody please help me understand. If anything, Cyclops is the real middle ground. He takes elements from both sides, Professor X and Magneto, Martin Luther King Jr. and Malcolm X, and tries to balance them. He's the realist and the idealist. That is the proper direction. And finally, we have the Punisher. This character is very controversial because there's some people who think that he's literally God and can kill basically everybody, and if you place him anywhere, he is going to run house. And there's other people who downplay the heck out of him. For me, I don't understand why people treat him like he is somehow the blueprint for how superheroes should operate. I'm telling you this, you do not want Frank Castle's mindset on someone like Superman. You don't. It would be very scary because Frank does not do second chances. His actions are absolute. And even if we just look at him practically, he's not clearing a place like Gotham, and a lot of people like to place Batman and Punisher against each other, seeing who has the better morality, but he's not taking out Joker, Riddler, Poison Ivy, Clayface, Mr. Freeze, all these high-level threats, even if we were to concede and say that his point of view was better. It's just not gonna work. The only way that it would be is if you put him in certain situations where he has all of his tools. If he has his War Machine armor, some Pym particles, some Green Goblin gliders, some Iron Man gauntlets, but he normally doesn't have that in his base toolkit. If he prepped for it, yeah, objectively, he would be able to kill all of them. The problem is that he can't even do that within his own world. Even when he fights big villains, he usually just beats them up, and then they go on their merry way. And since this is comics, while it would make sense for him to target those big level villains, he would rather go after mob bosses or small-time crooks than Green Goblin, or characters that have hundreds of thousands of deaths under their belt. Why is that? Well, because how lame would it be if you're building a storyline with the rivalry of Spider-Man and Dr. Octopus, and in some Punisher side story, he gets killed off? No one wants to read that. That is just not good writing. But going back to Gotham, if we look at Joker, people say that he's gonna pull up on Joker and just shoot the heck out of him. He's just a guy. What Batman comic have you seen where Batman was able to sneak up on the Joker? Joker is usually in hiding, planning something because he's very smart, and then puts Batman within his scheme, and he has to deal with all of that. Punisher is not going to have a simple 1v1, he's going to have to go through a whole 6 to 12 issue storyline just to have a proper confrontation with him. The minute Joker sees somebody approach him lethally, he'll know how to operate. He's been through Red Hood. Riddler, he's going to have to go through his own Saw jigsaw maze puzzle and a bunch of brain age teasers to even get a chance to glance at his general direction. Poison Ivy, Clayface, Mr. Freeze are high-level threats that at their peak can fight superhumans way stronger than Batman. If he's so effective, why are his own villains still alive too? Why is Jigsaw still here? Because he gets resurrected. Oh, let's apply that to DC and Batman. That would probably happen too. Why is the Kingpin still alive after the recent Punisher run showed him getting mowed down by Punisher bullets? I don't know, maybe his bullets literally break reality so that they won't kill anybody. Maybe Red Hood should have some of those so Batman isn't on his tail anymore. Like, it doesn't make... Dude, when was the last major villain you could name off the top of your head that Punisher killed and stayed dead? Maybe, I think he killed a Mandarin. I don't even know if it was the Mandarin, but I remember that. Maybe he killed Red Skull, but I doubt it. Somebody else probably did that. Arnim Zola, maybe. I don't know. I'm just grasping at straws. That's how unimpactful Punisher's kills has been. Not to say I don't like Punisher. He's one of my favorite. He might even be my favorite anti-hero of all time. But the moment you put his morality and his ethics and you see it as something that's sane and rational, even though yes, maybe certain criminals should die, it just pushes me the wrong way, because why are you trying to boost up your character Punisher because you believe in his way of thinking, which if you do, you're a psychopath if you believe no criminals deserve redemption. Even Punisher doesn't want other people to be like him. Why would you want Batman to follow in his footsteps? I don't know, but at the end of the day, this is comics, characters don't stay dead, not even for him. So yeah, Marvel is massive. Everybody has an opinion, and a lot of those opinions just get repeated without being fully thought through. These are mine, agree or disagree, it doesn't really matter, but at least for now, you've heard something just a little bit different. But yeah guys, let me know down below, what are your hot Marvel takes? What are the takes that are gonna make everybody around you in the comment section just heated? You know that Tangled meme with all the swords around him? I want you guys to drop those takes down below, but be genuine, don't try to rage bait. Drop actual opinions you have. Anyways, remember to like, subscribe, and turn on post notifications so you know when a new video goes live, and yeah, see you all later, take care, deuces, peace.